We're going to move on to our second and last passage. For this passage, we're going to use a different approach. We're going to read the text first and then the questions. Make sure that you read the text carefully, and in this case, you're going to listen to me as well, which should help. When we go through the questions, you can go back to the text and mark those areas or underline some phrases or words which you think might help with the answering of the questions. Okay, so let's start. Sven wanted to go out on the ice. The black-haired boy was already climbing into his snowsuit, zipping up the front before yanking soft mittens over his hands. Ingrid, the camp supervisor from Denmark, helped him with his boots and then pulled a woolen cap over his head. Sven beckoned me to follow him outside into the frosty blank whiteness. The snow had been falling since the day before, and now he was knee-deep in the stuff, kicking at it with gusto before climbing onto his wooden sled. He commanded me in Greenlandic. "He wants you to push him down the hill," guessed Ingrid, who knew no more Greenlandic than I. I nudged Sven gently down the slope, away from the camp where he was staying. Winter had replaced the slanted streets with a path of solid ice, and the boy flew away faster than I could waddle after him. Once back at the camp, Sven shook off his winter wear and ran off to join some of the older children who were back from skiing. The children's winter camp in Umanak is 3 times the size of a typical island camp, and the 40-odd children staying here come from all over Greenland and have their own bedrooms filled with their own toys and belongings. When we entered, good cooking smells hit my nose. Dinner was roasted narwhal. The meat was heavy and dark. Nobody spoke, not the children, not the many helpers who managed the camp day and night, not the visiting camp leaders from Denmark, and not me. Silence is the rule at the table, and so I chewed the whale blubber quietly, swallowing hard. After I said good night to Sven and the others, I bundled up and trudged through the snow to my own room in a separate section of the camp. The air stung my lungs, but I could almost have stayed there all night, listening once more to the mournful lullaby of dogs near and far. The next morning, Umanak had disappeared. When I looked out of the window, the island was gone. There was nothing but white, and on my way to the kitchen, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. This was snow and fog together, a frozen cloud pressing down on us at the top of the world. The storm continued for 2 days. My helicopter out was cancelled, granting me an extra night at the camp, where I spent a few hours showing Sven how to take pictures with my camera. The sky cleared by morning. Sven did not understand my English goodbye, but I shook his little hand and said "Kuyanak," the only word I knew in his language meaning thank you, over and over again. I do not expect Sven to remember me, but he is on me like a tattoo now. Years from now I will guess his age and wonder what he is up to. And this is also adapted from bbc.com travel story. We're going to read the questions that we have to answer on passage 2. While we are reading the questions, Make sure you underline keywords again, and you can go back to the text, and if you remember where the information lies, start writing down some notes, or make a reference, write number 1 next to the paragraph or the sentence. 1a, underline the most appropriate, so the best, title for this passage. Greenland in winter, a visit to a camp in Greenland, or skiing in Greenland. Give a reason for your answer. 2. List 4 items Sven wore to go out in the snow. 3. What does the writer mean by frosty blank whiteness? 4. How was Sven feeling while he was in the snow? You need to look for an adjective there. 5. Write 2 part sentences, so part of the sentence, of not more than 4 words each and found between lines 7 and 25, which show that it was very cold outside. 6. Mention 6 facts about the children's winter camp in Umanak that we learn from the passage. 7. Write 2 facts that show that the writer may not have liked what he ate for dinner. 8. Write 2 separate verbs found between lines 7 and 22 that show that the writer found it difficult to walk in the snow. And 9. Where did the writer sleep during his visit to the children's winter camp in Umanak? 10. Explain the meaning of the mournful lullaby of dogs. 11. Why does the writer say the island was gone? 12. In your own words, explain why the writer spent an extra night at the camp. So the keyword over there, extra night, keywords rather. 13. In what 2 ways did the writer attempt to communicate with Sven at the end of his visit? 14. What does the writer mean by he is on me like a tattoo now? 15. Write down 2 part sentences of not more than 7 words each, which show whether the writer spoke Greenlandic or not. Go through the questions again and the text and try to answer all of these questions. When you're ready, you can press play and we're going to correct the answers. Remember to keep track of time. Try to spend about 40 or 45 minutes on this, or less, given that we have already read out the text and the questions. Number 1. The most appropriate title would be A Visit to a Camp in Greenland. The writer is really relating his experience in the children's winter camp in Umanak. He doesn't talk much about skiing, and he doesn't really describe Greenland in winter. 2. List 4 items Sven wore to go out in the snow, and these were a snowsuit, mittens, boots, and a woolen cap. What does the writer mean by frosty blank whiteness? And this means that everything was covered in snow, and it's all the writer could see. The word frosty also suggests that it was very cold. 4. Sven was ecstatic, he was very happy and enthusiastic, and this is suggested by the word gusto. Sven kicked the snow with gusto. 5. The 2 part sentences were air stung my lungs and frozen cloud pressing down. Those show that it was very cold outside. 6. The 6 facts were that the children's winter camp in Umanak is 3 times larger than a typical island camp. There are 40 children or slightly more, and this is indicated by the word 40 odd. Odd over there shows that it's approximately 40 or slightly more. These children come from all over Greenland. That is the third fact. They have their own bedrooms. Apart from having their own bedrooms, their bedrooms are also filled with personal belongings and toys. And the last fact is that they have their meals in silence. 7. Two facts that show that the writer may not have liked what he ate, and these are: the meat was heavy and dark, and the fact that he had to swallow the food hard. 8. Two verbs that show that the writer found it difficult to walk in the snow were waddle, which means you walk with short steps and swaying, and trudge, which means you drag yourself, you walk slowly because you're tired, exhausted. 9. Where did the writer sleep? And the writer slept in a separate section of the camp that's found in line 21. Explain the meaning of the mournful lullaby of dogs. Question 10. A lullaby is sung at night, and it is usually to comfort a child. The word mournful over here emits a feeling of sadness, so this could reflect how the writer was feeling. 11. Why does the writer say the island was gone? There was a lot of snow and fog to the extent that he couldn't see the island, he couldn't see a thing. So it wasn't literally gone, but he couldn't see the island. 12. Explain why the writer spent an extra night in your own words. So basically his flight back home by helicopter was cancelled because of the bad weather. In what two ways did the writer attempt to communicate with Sven at the end of the visit? And the writer shook Sven's hand. He uttered the word kuyanak over and over again, which means thank you. 14. What does the writer mean by he is on me like a tattoo now? A tattoo is usually something permanent, so this means that Sven has left a mark on the writer. The idea of him will remain imprinted in the writer's mind for a very long time. 15. Write down two-part sentences of not more than 7 words each, which show whether the writer spoke Greenlandic or not. And these two sentences are: who knew no more Greenlandic than I, in lines 7 to 8, and kuyanak, the only word I knew, in line 29. Okay, you can add your marks. The total marks for this passage was 24, and you can add your marks from passage 1 and this passage and see how much you've got out of 15. Remember, like with anything else, practice makes perfect. So try and try again. Good luck, and I hope you have found this lesson useful. See you next time.